Hello there. My name is Kiseleva Sasha. I'm from Technical Support Department, Rakurs. Welcome to our second webinar. I hope everything is okay with sound. Please write me about it. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Thank you for your message for me. And the topic of our second English webinar, it's DTM creation in PHOTOMOD. And nice to see familiar names in the attendee list. And let's start. And we continue working with the same project as before. It's DMC project. And it is a small project, and we adjusted this block in previous webinar, and today we start with processing of this block. And let's check the state of this block with this window. It's project state window. Everything is okay. We can see 3 green ticks here. It means that all 3 stages are ready. And let's pass to DTM creation. And there are 2 types of automatic DTM creation, and the first one is so-called convenient DEM. It is automatic computation or computation 3D points. And the first step, we need to define the area of interest. And let's start with grid menu command, create. Here we can see the new layer, it's grid layer, and let's draw with shift key, hold on shift key on the keyboard, and with left mouse button this grid. It is area of interest for computation 3D points. And now we need to set this grid. It is size of step for both axes. For our block, yes, let's use 5 meters for both axes here. And that level, now you can see these values here in block scheme window. When we create grid layer, grid has the level of marker. And at first, sometimes it may be 0 meters or something like that. And here we can set this value. When we work in stereo pair window, that level is average level of this stereo pair automatically. So let's continue with grid properties. Now it's enough, and press OK button here. And now we are ready to start computation of 3D points. Use menu command vectors and compute points automatically. In this window, at first we need to choose the correlator preset by its name. The most convenient preset we can choose, for example, by experiment. When we work with big project, a lot of images, it's necessary to create, for example, a small pilot project. When we can define them the better settings for each of steps. For example, grid step, correlator preset, and we do it in this small block, and after that we use these parameters for whole block. And for example, now we work with I think it's rural area. It's better to use here these correlator presets. Each of these presets can be edited by users and with this button. And here you can find presets by default. You can create a new one, you can edit them, and create your own presets. For example, let's look at this window. It's 3 paths and a lot of different settings, and it's recommended to use some of them. Usually they work, but of course if you want, you can create something special for a particular project, of course. And close this window. And next step in here, it is a search area. When we work in this block scheme window, search area is all images by default. If we work in stereo pair window, I mean we create grid layer and open this compute points window in stereo pair window, active stereo pair is active, this option, and we work here. We can choose search area. If necessary, we can use this option, process interstrip stereo pairs. This option, when we use this option, the process takes more time. But usually when we work with a line object, for example roads along the strips, it's useful to use this option here, but now it's not necessary. And let's pass to next section in this window. It is initial approximation, and by default it is mean stereo pair elevation. Mean stereo pair elevation is calculated after adjustment for each stereo pair. And in other options here it is fixed elevation, and we can enter this value here. And for example, if we need, if we have DEM, external DEM, maybe sometimes it's root DEM, we can use this DEM as initial approximation to make this process faster. In fact, the system uses this DEM with precision. Here we can tick this option and enter the precision of this DEM to determine the search area. And the system uses this surface with this precision and tries to find the right values, right level for each node of this grid. And for example, we can load them in internet, for example SRTM or GTOPA, import this them into PHOTOMOD resource system, save it, and use it here in this window. Today we use mean stereo pair elevation. It's recommended if we don't have DEM, external DEM. Next step, it's additional settings, but I think these settings speaks for themselves. And let's pass to destination section here. And the first option, it's load into vector layer. In our case, we work with small block, and the approximate nodes count here, it's too small So it's okay if we load these points into vector layer. But sometimes when we work with big project, it's necessary save them into resources. And in the settings window here, we can split the whole resource into parts by stereo pair, the first option, or by rectangular sheets. And here we can enter the size of the sheets, and generally the size of these sheets we can choose by experimental the same. We can create resources after splitting with a reasonable count of points. Reasonable for a particular workstation because it's necessary, for example, after creation of these resources to control them, sometimes to edit them, to refine this resource with break lines, and it's necessary to edit these resources and to make this process easier and faster and more comfortable for operator. It's necessary to choose correct sheet size here. And here we just choose the folder, output folder, for all these resources. Now I press cancel button here, and we use load into vector layer. Now everything is okay, and I can just start this process. Please notice that this process can be be performed in distributed processing. And but now I press cancel here because it's too long for webinar time. And let's work, for example, with one of this stereo pair. And I can open new window, stereo window here to choose stereo pair and create a new grid here, something like that. And you can see there are buildings and fields. It's interesting project, and the same window here, vectors, compute point automatically, rural area, active stereo pair, mean stereo pair elevation in initial approximation here, and load into vector layer. Press OK. It takes time a bit, and I repeat it again, and it's necessary to find the most convenient settings for this project, for this process, for grid step, for size of sheets by experiment in small project. And sometimes we can try different kind of presets for the same project. For example, if we work with forest or with mountain, we can choose some of this preset for one part of the project, and for example, in the city, we can create another grid and use another preset here. And after filtration and editing all these parts, we can create the whole final DEM this way. And press OK here. Let's look at the result. And I hide this layer here and use stereo mode. It's an ugly stereo mode. let's look at the result. Without filtration, we can see, for example, we can see that there are a lot of points on the roof, on the trees, and it is part of job for our filter. Without stereo, it looks this way. And now let's start for this vectors filtration. Vectors, filter, and buildings and vegetation filter here. There are a lot of different filters, but this one is designed for filtration, especially object on the surface. It's buildings and trees. It's not the correlator errors. It's object, and it's not. Okay, let's continue. And vectors layer here for all object, of course. And here you can see that this process by default consists of three not steps, three paths: basis, additional, and detailed. Some of them we can switch off here in this tab, and it's recommended to use these three paths by default. Of course, it's possible to edit some of them, and in order to do this, please choose parameters option here and press this button. Here you can find very complicated sometimes settings for filters. So all these parameters are different for each path, for each preset here, and it depends on the average space between points, and all these parameters calculated with this value for each preset. So here you can edit some of these presets, you can create a new one and save them and use them here. If I choose preset options here, I can see all existing presets here. And for example, if we have a new one, we can see it here and use them. It's recommended to use parameters by default, and here I press OK. And of course, the grid step is a very important setting for layer and for filtering the same, because sometimes some small objects will be deleted when the step is small. No, if the step is big, and sometimes we need more dense points to describe the surface. Press OK here, and let's look at the result. Now without stereo and removed points, just hide it. Okay, and we can see the result and the same result in stereo mode. It's difficult to see the difference between color of layer in Anaglyph stereo mode, so I just hide removed points here. Okay, let's look at closer. Okay, after we finished with 3D points, we can define this model with break lines. For example, just activate this layer here, use one by one zoom, and for example here, let's create some break lines. In order to do this, we can create a new layer, of course, and use the same layer. In vectors toolbar, choose this mode. There is for points, for polygons, and for line. And let's create the new line. With insert button, we add a new vertex of object and just create this line. There are a lot of different modes for marker control, and this one is by default with a moving marker. There is another one, it's called I don't remember, excuse me. Fixed marker, yes, and the hotkey in the bracket, F6, just switch off this mode. And to finish a new object, just press enter button, enter key, and now I work in another mode, marker mode. When I move mouse, I move image, and marker is in the center of the screen. Press enter to finish with this line, and after we define this model with break lines, we can create tin to check the quality, and press F6 to return to marker mode by default. And now let's create tin. Create. Here I choose the vector layer. Everything is okay, just press OK. And all objects in our active layer are used for tin, and it's in stereo mode. And for example, if I start creation of a new break line, it's used in tin automatically. And let's look at this. Just create something like that. And all these vertex are used for tin. And of course I can create points to edit this area, for example, this way. Now I use the right mouse button to add new points and vertex. In order to do this, use service menu, and here mouse setup. Just tick this option, driver active, and here by default you can find that insert key, it's mouse, right mouse button, and I can add vertex and new points with mouse. Close this window, and here you can see tin and contours. So quasi contours, they used only for easier to make easier the control tin, and we can see the result with these contours, and it's without triangles and with triangles this way, and without without stereo mode. We can see the color. It depends on the level of points, and the same without triangles here. And we usually use tin just control the result of automatic computation 3D points and editing these models with break lines, with manual editing. And for example, after we create sheets for whole block, I mean sheets with 3D points automatically, and refine all these resources with break lines and control them with tins, we can pass to creation of the whole DTM, and we can do it with creation of the big tin with all of these resources, or if, for example, the block is real big and there are a lot of resources and points, we can use batch mode to create final DEM without using all these resources for tin creation and visualization, and use DEM build batch mode. Of course, if we use one or no, a few resources, not very big, and it's okay for your workstation, I mean the speed, and if it's okay, we can create them from tin. And let's look at the result for this stereo pair. Here we choose cell size for final DEM. No, it's okay, 1 meter here. Just press OK. Stereo pair, 1 meter, and press save. Here I can see the result for this stereo pair, and let's return to block scheme window. And for example, we have a lot of such parts for whole big block, and we would like to create the final DEM. It's really a big resource. I mean the vectors resources, the whole vector resources. So we create them in batch mode. Here we can we need to select all vector resources for creation. Just for example, a few vectors, vector resources, add them in the list for DEM creation, and press next button. Here we can find some steps. It is built in by build tins, build DEM by tin, and here we choose a working folder. If necessary, we can switch on filtering here, and of course the main parameters here is cell size of final DEM. Just press execute button and wait to the result. And for example, let's look at the result of computation 3D points for whole block. Let's look at them. Just hide these resources here, and vectors, load. It is resource after filtration. and it is okay. After filtration, open, create a new layer. The step of source grid for these vectors is 2 meters, and now I load deleted points after filtration. Create, and for example, red color for them. It is object without classifier. Red, okay, okay, and it is all object which were deleted after filtration. We can now look at the result in stereo mode for stereo pair. I just choose stereo pair and open stereo pair window one by one. In stereo mode. I think it's enough without stereo, and let's pass to lock scheme window. This resources has been created automatically without manual editing. Just close deleted points, and we can create, for example, contours by these points vectors. Build contours, smooth model. Here we just choose the needed layer, and I think all this of the settings speaks for themselves. So I just press cancel here and load this resource which were created before our webinar, because it takes time. Vector load, and oh, excuse me for Russian name, it's smooth contours, and open this resource, create a new layer, okay, and hide points. Look at the result, and let's look at the result in stereo mode on the stereo pair without one by one. In stereo mode. Okay, I close this stereo pair window, and we can use window menu command and to switch between opened windows here, and just go to block scheme window. This is a result of computation, automatic computation 3D points, and there is another algorithm for creation, automatic creation DEM. It's so-called dense DTM. Excuse me, let's close some of these vector layers. Resulting, no, yes, no. Close the same without saving, and use them. Build dense DTM. At first we need to create grid layer to define area of interest the same, but please notice that we don't use here the step of grid, because for dense DTM algorithm we compute that elevation in each pixels of source images. But we need to create to use convenient step for grid. For example, for aerial project it's about 20 or 15 meters, and for a satellite project it's about 100 meters to create area of interest for dense DTM algorithm. It is some requirements to start this process. So everything is okay for aerial project here. Just press OK, and it opens create dense DTM window. The first step is looks the same and use the same options. It's search area, and by default when we work in below scheme window, all images options is active here. And the same options for interstrip stereo pairs. And here we need to choose working folder for saving the final DEM and the sum of intermediate DEM. Because this algorithm consists of three stages, and the first one it's computation of dense DTM. It's computation of Z elevation for each pixel of source images, and after that we filtering this DEM with building set vegetation filter, and after that we smooth the result and resample this DEM to final DEM cell size, because usually we don't need to choose so small too small step for example order rectification. It's not necessary. So here we can set the cell size of final DEM, and this algorithm is specially designed to use modern technology of computing with the graphic cards, with the processor of graphic cards and GPU. And here there is CPU, the possibility to use CPU or GPU device, but it's recommended to use GPU, because it's really faster, and it's necessary to use a special video card supporting CUDA. And then properties window, we can see the driver version and version of CUDA, and the minimal requirements here 3.2 for both. And here, for example, on this workstation, I use this Quadro 2000 video card, and this card supports both mode. I mean stereo mode, working in stereo mode, and CUDA. I can use it for the dense for computation dense DTM, and sometimes, for example, it's possible if you use, for example, on one workstation for stereo mode and another workstation for computation only, because more powerful video cards, NVIDIA GeForce, they don't support stereo mode, but they allow us to perform this process faster. I mean, I use CUDA technology for DEM creation. So it's recommended to use here on GPU, graphic processing unit, and other options we can leave intact. And in this working folder, after computation, we will find three resources: the source, dense, DEM without filtering, DEM after filtering, and smooth and resampling DEM, the final DEM. So if you want to have a look on the result, just switch off these options here and press OK button. We can start this processing, distributed processing, but now I press cancel and just show you the result, because it takes time. Cancel here, hide grid layer, and DEM load. Here I used this output folder. There is TMP data, and this one, it is the second, then stem. Open the result. In each pixels, here we can see these parts of DEM, because the options about interstrip stereo pairs was activated for this computation. The next result is I close this DEM load. It is DEM after filtration, filtered DEM. Oh, excuse me. It's folder with tile of DEM. And here filtered. Open. After filtration, without buildings and vegetation here. And the final DEM after smoothing and resampling. DEM load. It is yes, it is a final DEM. Open. Of course, these parts are used for final DEM, and I can just, for example, this layer is active now. final them just with Shift key on the keyboard. Draw this rectangle and save selection. Yes, it's 1 meter. But save, close, and load the final them again. Open. Okay, now we can check the result of this algorithm. Now, of course, without stereo mode, but if you want, we can just use a menu command dem convert to points. Here just set the step cell size. Now the cell size of this dem 1 meter, so let's use, for example, 5 meter between points and press OK. OK. Yes, for example, yellow color here. Yellow. OK. OK. And open the stereo pair. There are a lot of points. Stereo pair to check it in stereo mode. This points has been created by them. It's regular points. Oh, because it's regular and so too dense, it's difficult to look at the result in unugly stereo mode. But for example, for this marker position, we can see that that elevation here near these buildings 492 meters, and almost the same result here. The roof of these buildings was filtered and looks okay. Of course, we can create, for example, a tin to check it, create vectors with quasi-contours. Okay, and the result looks this way without triangles and without points. And we can pass to the next stereo pair with Ctrl-Alt+arrow. Hey, don't want. Okay, let's try again. Yes, it works. Of course, I can use the special toolbar to jump between stereo pairs. It's Window, Toolbars. Where is it? Change stereo pair. And just use these buttons. I think it is all what I wanted to show you in this webinar, and if you have some questions, please write me them in chat and I will answer for all of them. And the first question about from Bruno Silva about filters, and could you especially how the different filters work in different terrain types. I think the most important thing is here it's not it's not filtering. At first we need to choose the correct preset for computation of points, and of course, if you have only forest on your stereo pair and without ground between, it's impossible to filter all these trees. But if it's possible to find some points on the ground for a correlator, it depends on the quantity of points on the ground. And then the next question, is it possible to make the contours more smooth? I think we can talk about editing of contours in webinar about vectorization here, because it takes time a bit. So let's consider the editing of contours, I suppose, one of the next webinars. Have you any question about about using automatic 3D points and dense model? Okay, it was a question from Milko Tomov. Okay, see you on the next webinar. What about questions? And thank you, Yana, for your message. And next, the next question from Srihari Rao. Is it possible to create break lines in different layers? Yes, of course. And for example, now we can see that some objects, we have objects in this vector layer. Look at the result, it's too much. And I just hide this layer and this too. Where is it? Grid. No, them. And just vector, create. And I can create some break lines here in this layer. Let's look at the stereo pair, for example. Without grid, vector here. Just create some of lines without stereo mode, if you don't mind. Just line. And after I create some break lines in this vector layer, and I can use both of these layers for tin. For example, I have two vector layers here, just tin, create, and just select both of them. For example, if you want to save lines and points in different layer, but use both of these layers for tin. And next question about parameters. What parameters should we use for filtering points? And let's look at the settings window for filtering again. Vectors, filter, buildings and vegetation filter. Oh, because it's layer with line, just activate this one with points. Vectors, filter, and there is it's recommended to use parameters by default, and of course you can edit all these presets, I mean basic, additional, detailed, and you can save them, you can add your own preset here and use and change these parameters. Some of these parameters are described in our manuals, but sometimes it's too complicated to set every time all of them. So we created some presets, and by experimental we choose some values here, and usually they works for different type of projects, so it's recommended to use them. But of course you can just read our manual, just change something here, and use, I think, cut and try method to find something more convenient for your territory, for your layers. And usually it's enough to use all these presets, 3 paths, to filter different points on different object, different territory, I mean, for different projects here. It's another question from Nikolai Georgiev. When I use automatically points in stereo mode, they fly above the levels. What's the problem? I think it's better, for example, okay, when I can't imagine this problem. I mean, it depends on particular project, and maybe it's necessary. It's if the points were computed automatically and open in this particular project after adjustment, and probably this project was adjusted again with another, for example, triangulation points. It depends on a lot of different steps of project processing. So if you have this problem, please write us to support and we will answer. We will try to solve this problem with your points. It's necessary to have a look on this project, on this particular project. Okay, do you have any questions? Please. Okay, I think we can finish our webinar for today, and thank you very much for your attention and for time spent, and please write some possible topics for webinars to our support, and please share your opinion, write your impressions to webinar rakurs.ru. We would appreciate your feedback very much, and we will wait for your mails, please. Thank you very much, and goodbye.